So I've been trying to make this video for a while. I'm just going to jump into it. Okay, so the lessons I have learned while learning 5 instruments. So it's been a long ride. I started out with the drums, moved on to bass, then guitar, then piano recently, and I realized the whole time I had been learning a 5th instrument and I didn't even realize it. So, the first lesson that I learned from learning the drums, my first instrument, was that you just can't cram music practice. So, I used to have this music teacher, right? Drum teacher would come along. And basically, every single week, I would do the exact same thing. I would just wait for the Friday or whatever to roll around. And then I'd be like, oh God, I've got a lesson on Saturday. I better practice now. And I'd try and cram in like an hour, and then when it came to the lesson, the teacher could see I hadn't done any practice. It was as if I'd done nothing. Another thing was that in school, I used to kind of boast and brag about like what I was able to play on the drums, even though I couldn't play it. So that was the worst part, is that I'm telling people, oh yeah, I can play Hot for Teacher. Yeah. Aye, I can play Hot for Teacher on the drums, of course. This like, what, I would have been like 12 years old at that time. No, you can't, mate. So, yeah, don't pretend like you can, or just even boast about your musicianship in general. It's for you, and you can share that gift, but don't boast about it. So, the second instrument, I then moved on to bass in high school. So, I was about 16, something like that. I realized that learning a variety of genres and just exposing yourself to a variety of genres of music in general as a musician is incredible. You're introduced to more techniques, rhythms, more advanced stuff, and it basically means that it culminates and you can actually just, you now have your own sound because no one else has listened to all of those exact songs and gained the same insights from them as you. And now you can say, learn a heavy metal song like Orion by Metallica, and you can apply that to maybe like a 60s more Kinks kind of track and put in those kind of harmonies and maybe like a bit of harmonic minor. And I just love that kind of stuff, and I hope the same for you. So just keep listening to a variety of genres, keep learning new stuff. That's the lesson I learned. Also, I learned from the transition from bass to guitar. I learned that learning techniques on one instrument can very easily be applied to another. This goes for music theory as well. But on bass, I did a bit of slap in the bass, so it's now confirmed. Jingram 99 can slap the bass, and I will show you that very soon. Not in this video, so hold your horses. But there'll be some slappy basses, so don't worry about that. The analogy I've got written down is, and for like the slap and the bass, it's kind of like using and synchronizing two hands at once. Obviously, you do the kind of fingerstyle stuff, but I realized that when I learned guitar, for some reason, playing fingerstyle and doing like folky kind of stuff, it was a lot easier than learning how to strum and do alternate picking, because I never played with a pick on bass. But I'm going ahead of myself. But when I learned how to pick on guitar, I realized I could bring that back to bass. And now, you know what I mean? They're all kind of working together now, synergizing. So that's awesome, man. It's a great thing to learn. And just from one instrument, from one thing, know 1,000 things. So learning how to pick on one instrument, learning how to synchronize your hands may apply to other instruments in the future, as I learned. The analogy I've got here, though, is that it's like getting a lucky egg in Pokemon. So in Pokemon, right? I'm sure you've heard of Pokemon, the game. You used to like sometimes pick up these things called lucky eggs, and what it would do would basically mean that you could level up one of the Pokemon that you had. No matter what, you just give it a lucky egg and it boosts up a level. And what I used to do is I'd like stockpile these lucky eggs, and then when you'd catch your new Pokemon, so you get like a team of 6 of Pokemon, right? So as you're going through the game, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, and it goes up. So maybe when I'm adding my fourth Pokemon, I catch it and I'm like, yes, that's the one I want. You just have this stockpile of lucky eggs and you go, boom, take that. And now you're up 10 levels. It just turns the Pokemon into the absolute boss. Like, it turns them into a Don just from the outset. Um, so this is like learning techniques and applying them to a different instrument. I think it's such a good analogy for that. You can stockpile these lucky eggs of synchronizing your hands, being able to apply music theory, and loads of other stuff. But I just think that might kind of open it up for you to understand it. The final lesson I learned on bass, and I'm sure I'll learn many more. There's a lot I haven't covered as well, but is to always take on bigger challenges as you progress. So within 2 years of learning bass, I just went, fuck it, I'm going to learn Orion, as I mentioned earlier. I'm going to learn Portrait of Tracy, which is probably the hardest song on bass that you could learn. And doing that like 2 to 6 stretch, where you're trying to get the harmonic, is crazy. I learned Anesthesia of Pulling Teeth. As you can see, I like Cliff Burton. I learned Roundabout. I learned all these, people say they're really hard. It's like the gold standard. But when you just say, fuck it, I'm going to learn it, you realize that you can. You absolutely can. And I think a lot of people get paralyzed by the fact that they think they can't learn something and they just don't try. But I'm here to tell you, just try. Just give it a shot. See what happens. I guarantee you'll learn something and then you'll be able to apply that to something else. So that's all I want to say for that. My third instrument, I then moved on to guitar in college. So I was about 18 now. I learned finally that music theory is very important and you can't just fuck about forever. So on bass, I just kind of mess about all the time. And I would find stuff and it did develop my ear, I will say that. But music theory, eventually, you have to get there. And I know you've probably clicked away from this video now that I've mentioned it, but if you're still here, yeah, music theory is so important, bro. Even just the smallest amount, and this is what I learned, right? So when you realize that you can make anything a major or minor chord and you know how to build them, and then maybe introduce yourself to, just the easy bar chords, and then you realize, oh, I can play an A here, I can play an A here, I can play an A up here. And then knowing that to change from a major to a minor chord is a difference of one note really just opens it up. You know what I mean? You change from the minor third, from the major third to the minor third, and that's it. Because when you hear like, oh, major chord, minor chord, you're like, oh, it must be completely different. And what you don't realize is, nah, it's pretty much exactly the same apart from one note. So that's cool. And that was all I needed to start writing my own original music, which is awesome. And, I'm just glad I just went for it. And I hope you can do the same. I'm just here to encourage you. This is the purpose of this video. Also, you can't force progress. You can only foster the conditions required for it to come of its own accord. And all you can do is wait patiently for progress to come. So you can't force it. All you can do is just keep plugging away, day by day, just small actions, just focusing on consistency and not worrying about why I'm not Eddie Van Halen after 2 years. It's like, have you put in the reps? So just remember, and this happens with all stuff, business, fitness, spirituality, you're going to hit plateaus, and all you can do is just keep fostering the conditions for success and improvement. You can't force it. So deep lesson there. Another one, and this goes for life as well, play slow. Just slow down, man. I always, and I still am guilty of this, just play at the song's original tempo and I speed up while I play sometimes, and it's like, just slow down, mate. Take it easy. Take a breather. Come back at it. You're only going to frustrate yourself if you keep just attacking this song at the same tempo. You have to slow down if you want to actually learn it, and then you can speed up. Don't just play at the original tempo and just bash your head against the wall. You know what I mean? It's not going to work. So that's one thing. Also, don't get stuck in shapes. This will slow everyone down. Is once you learn that major scale for the first time, or like the pentatonics, you'll learn it, and then you're like, all right, and that's it. And you go up and down, up and down, up and down, over and over. It's like, nah, that's not how it works. So once you learn a shape, move it. Learn another one if you have to, but know that they can be applied across the entire fretboard, and they're not meant to just be used up and down vertically. You need to combine the vertical and horizontal. So aim for diagonal playing, and don't be afraid to explore. Just do it. You know what I mean? So don't get stuck in shapes. It's the worst thing you can do as a guitar player. And that applies to any other instrument as well. Don't get stuck in the theory. It's a tool for musical expression. It's not an exercise in monotony. You know what I mean? You have to actually apply it. So I'm going to move on now. Fourth instrument. Fourth instrument I learned was piano. And this is very recently, maybe how long? Like a year and a half ago, started learning piano. What I realized, like pretty much straight away, I was taking the Fundamentals of Music Theory course by Edinburgh University. It's on Coursera. It's a great course. I'd recommend anyone take it. I'll link it in the description, actually. What I realized is the piano will improve your music theory knowledge regardless of what instrument you play. Due to the linear nature of it and the visual nature of the white and black keys, and just it's all in order. It just makes so much more sense than the guitar tuned in fourths and then a third on the B string. It's like, what? Like, it doesn't seem to make sense. So the linear nature of the piano is awesome, and it will improve your playing no matter what instrument you play, even if you're a vocalist. Learning a non-stringed instrument as a stringed instrument player was a very humbling experience. Let me just tell you that. You realize that you have to make all the progress over again, and it's a completely different beast. You have learned the skills of synchronizing your hands and whatever and being dexterous with your hands, but you soon realize that, oh my god, there's so many more shapes on a piano because of the linear nature of it. You have to learn, whoa, it's like, so now you kind of are forced to learn music theory a bit more deeply, but it improves every other instrument you play, which is awesome. It also just reminds you to keep the beginner's mindset, especially if you play a stringed instrument or you're a saxophonist or anything. It reminds you to just remember that you're always a beginner. You will never become the master unless you truly accept the beginner's mindset and approach the instrument every day as a child would, just discovering it for the first time over and over again. That's the deepest thing you can do in music. Learn the songs you love, even if they are too difficult. So the first song I learned on piano was Bohemian Rhapsody. I just went, fuck it. I like Bohemian Rhapsody, I'm just going to learn it. And I learned other Beatles songs as well. Again, it just taught me, don't put songs on a pedestal. If you want to learn it, just learn it. Don't think that it's too hard. If you like the song, just learn it. You'll have more fun with the instrument. You will play for longer. You will stay with it for longer. And you just enjoy the process more. Fifth instrument, vocals. Now, when I was a baby, right, my mum told me this. Like, when I was a baby, I used to sing as a very small child, like under 5 years old. Like, probably before I could talk, I was like having little, just like singing as a wee baby. And what I didn't realize is throughout my entire life, I'd been singing. I'd always hum along with tunes. I'd always hum a little song while walking down the street. I'd always imitate vocal things, like even just like cartoon characters. I'd always try and imitate like Johnny Bravo or some shit like that. Like I won't do it on camera because that'll come back to haunt me. Um, what you realize is you've always been practicing vocals, even just speaking, which is awesome. And what I've got written down here is you are the instrument. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter what instrument you're playing, whether it's a guitar, a mandolin, drum kit, singer, you are the instrument. You have the song within you. The instrument's just a piece of wood with some strings on it or a bit of brass. You're the instrument. The song doesn't exist without you. You have a deep song within you, and I think it's great just to express that. I think it's awesome. Music is emotion, not maths. This is the next lesson. And again, this is like, don't get stuck in shapes. The beautiful thing with vocals is there's no fretboard. There's no framework holding it all together. It's just inside you, and then you let it out. That's it. You just sing. I love this like little proverb, which is like, does the bird ask, is my song pretty? No, it just sings. And there's an African proverb that goes like, if you can walk, you can dance. And if you can talk, you can sing. I just think that's so awesome, man. So sick. And what I want to lead this into is just have fun, mate. Like, especially with singing, have fun. And throw your ego right out the window. Because you're going to have voice cracks, you're going to spill when you're trying to go between vocal ranges. You know, it's so awkward in the beginning. You're going to have to speak like Mickey Mouse and shit like that to try and access your falsetto. You're going to have to go really fucking deep and just try and experiment with your range. You know what I mean? Just have fun with it. And what I've got written down is Arthur Brown. If you haven't heard Arthur Brown, listen to Fire. It's such a fun song. And Frank Zappa. She had her Camarillo Brillo. Like, just doing the impressions and stuff like that. So fun. The Beatles. The Beatles is another great example because they're not afraid to just experiment with their voice. So cool. All the Beatles stuff. Those harmonies. The later stuff especially when they're like just over the song completely on Abbey Road and stuff like that is so sick. Queen, just have fun with it. Bicycling on every Wednesday evening. All that shit, man. Just, it's so fun. Sixth instrument. I did say 5 at the beginning, but sixth instrument. I'm learning a bunch of instruments right now. I'm learning, as you can see up there, the mandolin. I'm learning ukulele. I'm learning harmonica. A bunch of instruments, but I wouldn't consider any of these like official because I haven't gone deep with them. But learning instruments just in general, it just reminds you to keep that beginner's mindset, stay humble. Remember, you will always be a beginner, and it's just fun. Remember why you picked up the first instrument or your main instrument by learning other ones. It reminds you of the process of becoming, of just increasing your ability and going from beginner to intermediate to whatever, back to beginner. Never stop learning. Especially music-wise. There's never a completion of musical development, and don't look for it. You will never be satisfied with your progress, and that's the best part. It's an infinite game. We get to play this game forever. We get to be musicians forever and just keep playing. That's so awesome, mate. Like, I'm just getting goosebumps thinking about it. I get to play and make music for the rest of my life. That's awesome. Like, it doesn't matter what you do, like what you do for a living or whatever. You still get to just have fun with music. You get to listen to music for the rest of your life. It's beautiful. Learning new instruments is a net positive, even for your main instrument. Become a Swiss Army knife musician. I love this expression. A one-man band, Swiss Army knife musician, you know what I mean? All this stuff. Learn how to mix. Learn how to record yourself. Learn how to master. Learn how to use plugins. Learn how to play a pedal steel. Learn how to play slide. Just keep having fun. Whatever you want to learn, just do it. Especially with music. Like, it's so important. Never think that it's out of your reach, because it isn't. So I just want to leave you with that. I hope you got something out of this. It might have just been me ranting. But yeah, good luck. Enjoy the process. Yeah.